When my daughter blocked my number, I thought it was a mistake. One wrong swipe, maybe. One of those teenage mood swings that blow over by dinner. But then I saw the message she posted. Sometimes you have to walk away from the people who pretend to love you. It wasn't directed at me by name, but I didn't need it to be. I could feel my name in every word. That night, I sat at the kitchen table staring at my phone like it was a stranger I didn't know how to speak to anymore. The hum of the refrigerator filled the silence where her laughter used to be. I typed, "Please call me, sweetie." Then deleted it. Typed again. Deleted again. That's when I realized, maybe she wasn't coming back this time. Before everything fell apart, our mornings had a rhythm I cherished. Quiet, a little chaotic, but ours. Maya would come down the stairs in her oversized hoodie, earbuds in, humming some song I didn't recognize. I'd pour her coffee, more milk than coffee if I'm honest, and pack her lunch even though she was 17 and insisted she could do it herself. She'd roll her eyes and mutter, "Mom, you don't have to do that." And I'd smile and say, "I know. I just want to." We'd been just the two of us for years. Her father left when she was 9, a quiet exit that became quieter over time, until his name just stopped coming up in conversation. We built something fragile but beautiful. Two women figuring out life together, learning each other's rhythms. She was my anchor. My reason to work late shifts at the clinic. My reason to come home exhausted but grateful. So when things started to change, it was small. So small I convinced myself I was imagining it. It started with her silence. At first, it was the kind every teenager slips into. Short answers, locked bedroom door, headphones always on. I told myself it was normal. Growing pains. But then, small moments began to sting. Like the morning I asked if she wanted breakfast, and she said, "I already ate," without looking up, though I could see the empty counter, untouched. Or the night she didn't come home until nearly midnight. No message. No call. When she finally walked in, her eyes were red, not from crying, but from holding something back. "Where were you?" I asked softly. She shrugged. "Out." "Out where?" Her jaw tightened. "Does it matter?" It did. But I didn't want to push her away. So I backed off. That became my pattern, walking on eggshells, giving her space, hoping she'd return to me on her own. Then came the afternoon at the grocery store. I was paying for groceries when I saw her across the parking lot. She wasn't alone. She was with a woman, maybe late 30s, stylish but casual, and they were laughing, hugging. The kind of embrace that didn't look new. It looked familiar. My stomach dropped. When Maya saw me, her smile froze. She said something quickly to the woman, then turned away, pretending to check her phone. I waved, a small, uncertain motion, but she didn't look back. That night, when she came home, I asked casually, "How was your day?" She froze mid-step, as if bracing herself. "Fine." "Who was the woman you were with?" Her eyes widened for a split second, then narrowed. "Don't start, Mom." "I'm not starting anything. She's a friend. You don't know her." Her tone had that defensive edge that tells you there's more beneath the surface. But I let it go. Because sometimes love makes you cowardly. A few weeks later, she stopped coming home altogether. At first, she stayed at a friend's house, or so she said. Then she stopped answering my calls. Her teachers said she'd been missing classes. I called her best friend, Leah, who finally admitted, "She's been staying with someone else." I don't think she wants me to say who. That night, I barely slept. The next morning, I took the day off work and drove to the address Leah had hinted at. A small yellow house on the edge of town, with a white fence and flowers by the porch. I rang the bell. The door opened, and there she was, the woman from the parking lot. And behind her, my daughter. Maya looked startled, like a child caught sneaking out. "Mom, what are you doing here?" I looked at the woman. "You must be..." The woman hesitated, then extended her hand. "I'm Claire." The name meant nothing to me, until I saw the flicker in Maya's eyes. And then it hit me. Claire wasn't just someone she met. Claire was her biological mother. The woman who gave birth to her, who left when Maya was barely a year old. The woman I thought had moved out of state, out of reach. The one who hadn't sent a letter in 15 years. My mouth went dry. "You're..." Claire nodded softly. "Yes. I think we should talk." Inside, the house smelled of lavender and something baking. A soft, domestic scent that made me feel like an intruder in my own child's story. We sat around the small dining table, Claire across from me, Maya between us, her arms crossed, eyes flicking nervously. I could barely form words. "When did this start?" Maya shifted. "A few months ago. I found her online. We've been talking. And you didn't think to tell me? You'd have tried to stop me." Her voice cracked, but her eyes were steady, defensive. "I had a right to know, Maya. You had no right to keep her from me all these years." The words cut deep, because I'd always told myself I'd explain when she was older, when she could understand why Claire left. But maybe I'd waited too long. Claire spoke softly. "I never wanted to hurt you, either of you. I wasn't ready to be a mother then. But I am now. I just want to know her." I looked at her, at the neat home, the comfortable furniture, the photos on the wall that already included Maya. She'd built a space for my daughter without me. I stood up, my hands trembling. "You could have called me. We could have talked. Instead, you went behind my back." Claire lowered her gaze. "I didn't want to cause conflict. You did anyway." Maya whispered, "Mom, please don't make this harder." That was when I realized she wasn't talking to me. She was talking about me. And in that moment, for the first time in 17 years, I wasn't Mom anymore. I was just the other woman in her story. I drove home that day with both hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. The road blurred through my tears. There was a moment, just a flicker, when I considered pulling over and screaming. But what would that fix? By the time I got home, the house felt emptier than I remembered. Her room was still a mess, clothes on the floor, sketchbooks scattered across her desk, the faint smell of her shampoo in the air. It felt like a museum of a girl who used to live here. I sat on her bed and picked up one of her drawings, a self-portrait, unfinished. She'd drawn herself split down the middle, half smiling, half fading. I hadn't understood it before. Now I did. She'd been living with two mothers inside her all along. The days that followed blurred into a strange rhythm. I went to work, came home, cooked for one. Every night, I stared at my phone, waiting for her name to light up the screen. It never did. One evening, I saw a picture pop up on social media. It was Maya, standing beside Claire, both of them grinning under a banner that read, "Family Day Picnic." My breath caught. She looked happy, radiant even, and I hated myself for resenting it. When you raise a child who isn't biologically yours, you prepare for a certain kind of fear, that one day the past will come knocking. But I never expected it to walk right in and take her hand. Weeks passed before she texted me. It was short. We need to talk. Tomorrow. 5 p.m. No heart emojis. No love you. Just a meeting request, like I was a stranger she needed to schedule. When she arrived, she didn't come inside. She stood at the doorway, arms crossed, the same guarded stance I'd seen in her since that day at Claire's house. "Can we sit?" I asked. She nodded. We went out to the porch. The late afternoon light made her hair glow like it used to when she was little. I almost reached to tuck a strand behind her ear, but she pulled back slightly, and I stopped myself. "You've been avoiding me," I said quietly. "I just needed space." "From me?" She hesitated. "From everything." I swallowed. "You've seen her a lot." Her chin lifted. "She's my mother, too." There it was. The truth laid out like a blade on the table. I took a deep breath. "I know. And I'm not trying to take that away from you." Her eyes darted toward me, unsure. "But I need to understand," I continued. "Why now? Why cut me out completely?" She looked away, jaw tightening. "Because you made it sound like she didn't care. You said she left and never looked back. That's what she did, Maya. You were one. She told me she tried to reach out. That you wouldn't let her. The air left my lungs. That's not true." She looked at me then, really looked at me. And for a moment I saw the little girl who used to crawl into my bed when she had nightmares. "You've always wanted to protect me," she said softly. "But sometimes, that means you hide things you shouldn't." I could have argued. I could have defended every decision I'd ever made. But something in her voice stopped me. It wasn't anger anymore. It was disappointment. And that hurt more than anything. That night, I couldn't sleep. Her words kept echoing. "You hide things you shouldn't." So I did something I hadn't done in years. I went through the old box in my closet. The one I'd kept sealed since she was a baby. Inside were papers, photos, and a single unopened letter, postmarked 15 years ago. My heart sank when I saw the handwriting. It was Claire's. I remembered receiving it just after she left. I'd been so furious, so heartbroken, I'd never read it. I thought protecting Maya meant erasing the woman who abandoned her. My hands trembled as I tore it open. "I know you'll never forgive me, but please tell her one day that I love her. I can't be what she needs right now, but I hope one day I'll be strong enough to try." I sat on the floor, crying into my hands. I had told myself I'd done what was best, but maybe I'd only done what made me feel safe. The next morning, I called Maya. She didn't answer, but I left a voicemail. "There's something you need to see. It's about your mother, your other mother." She came that evening, reluctantly. Her expression guarded. I handed her the letter. She read it silently, her lips trembling slightly. When she finished, she whispered, "You never told me." I couldn't. I was afraid. Afraid of what? Of losing you. A tear slipped down her cheek. She wiped it quickly, angry at herself for showing it. "You didn't lose me because of her, Mom. You lost me because you didn't trust me with the truth." That sentence hit harder than any accusation could. I nodded slowly. "You're right." She looked at me, shocked that I'd admitted it so easily. "I'm sorry," I said, "for holding too tight, for not letting you find her on your own terms. I thought I was protecting you. I see now I was protecting myself." For the first time in months, the silence between us didn't feel hostile. It felt tired, healing, maybe. After a long moment, she said quietly, "She's not perfect, you know." None of us are. She smiled faintly, the ghost of her old smile. She leaves dishes in the sink. She forgets to charge her phone. She still feels guilty. She should, I said softly, then added, but maybe guilt isn't what you need from either of us. She looked at me, really looked, and nodded. Maybe I just need honesty. A few weeks later, Maya invited me to meet Claire again, this time, properly. I won't lie, I almost said no. Pride is a powerful poison. But something in me knew that if I wanted my daughter back, I had to step into the discomfort. We met at a quiet café near the lake. The smell of roasted coffee filled the air. The hum of quiet conversation wrapped around us like white noise. Claire stood as we arrived, nervous but smiling. "Thank you for coming," she said softly. I nodded. For Maya, I'd go anywhere. Maya sat between us, visibly anxious but hopeful. The conversation was awkward at first. Polite exchanges about school, work, weather. But then, slowly, the layers began to peel away. Claire admitted she'd been terrified of reaching out. That guilt had kept her silent for years. And I admitted that fear had made me keep Maya all to myself. It wasn't a comfortable conversation. But it was real. For the first time, I saw Claire not as a threat, but as another woman who'd made a mistake and was trying to make it right. When we left, Maya hugged both of us. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was losing her. I felt like we were both getting her back. Word travels fast in small towns, especially when people think they know your story. Soon after that cafe meeting, whispers started to circle. At the clinic where I worked, a coworker leaned across the front desk and said, "I saw your daughter the other day. She looks just like her real mom." She didn't mean harm, but that word, real, it lodged in my chest like a splinter. For years, I'd been mom. No asterisk. No qualifiers. Just mom. Now it felt like that title was being passed around like something that could be shared, borrowed, or revoked. At first, I withdrew. I stopped mentioning Maya at work. When people asked about her, I'd just say, "She's doing fine," and change the subject. But at home, the silence was heavier. Every photo on the wall seemed to look back at me with questions I couldn't answer. Until one Saturday morning, when I opened the front door, and there she was. Maya stood on the porch, holding a tote bag full of art supplies. "Can I paint here today?" she asked, voice hesitant. I blinked, unsure if I'd heard right. "Of course." She stepped inside, looking around as though the house had changed in her absence. It hadn't. Not much, anyway. Except maybe me. She sat up by the window, pulling out her brushes and canvas. I stayed in the kitchen, pretending to read, though every few minutes I'd sneak a glance at her. The way she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, the small crease that appeared when she concentrated. For nearly an hour, neither of us spoke. The only sounds were the soft strokes of her brush and the clock ticking on the wall. Finally, she said, "You changed the curtains." I smiled faintly. "Too bright." "No. I like them." It wasn't much, but it was a beginning. As days turned into weeks, she came by more often. Sometimes to paint, sometimes just to sit. She'd tell me little things, about school, about Claire's cooking, about her new art mentor. It wasn't the closeness we'd once had, but it was something gentler, more careful. One evening, she showed me a painting she'd finished. It was a portrait of two women, their faces partially blurred, standing on opposite sides of a bridge. Between them, a girl stood holding a rope that connected both ends. I stared at it for a long time. "It's beautiful," I whispered. She looked at me. "It's us." I felt my throat tighten. And the bridge. She smiled softly. Still under construction. That was the first time I laughed in months. The truth is, healing doesn't arrive all at once. It doesn't knock on your door with a bouquet and say, "We're good now." It slips in quietly, through the sound of shared laughter, through forgiveness that starts as tolerance and grows into understanding. I began to see Claire occasionally, not out of obligation, but because it made things easier for Maya. Sometimes the three of us would have lunch together, awkward but civil. I watched as Maya switched effortlessly between calling her Claire and calling me Mom, and I realized I didn't need ownership over the word anymore. One afternoon, Claire pulled me aside after lunch. "You did an amazing job raising her," she said softly. It wasn't pity. It was gratitude. And somehow, that acknowledgement, from the one person I'd feared most, healed something inside me that years of silence never could. "We both did our best," I said. She nodded. "Maybe that's all any of us can do." At home that night, I found Maya sitting on the porch steps, sketching the sunset. The air smelled of rain and jasmine. I sat beside her quietly. After a while she said, "You know what's strange? I thought finding her would fix everything. Did it?" She shook her head. "No. It just made me realize how broken I already was." I turned to her, surprised by her honesty. "But you're mending," I said. "That's what matters." She smiled faintly. "So are you." We watched the sky fade from gold to pink to gray. There was no grand apology, no cinematic hug. Just a quiet understanding that love could survive even after it changed shape. Graduation came in early June. Maya invited both of us, me and Claire, to sit together. When her name was called, I felt tears prick my eyes. Not because of pride, though there was plenty of that, but because she looked so peaceful, like a girl who had finally stopped running. After the ceremony, she found us in the crowd. She handed each of us a small envelope. Inside mine was a photo, the three of us at her art show earlier that month. On the back, she'd written, "It took two mothers to teach me how to love honestly. Thank you both for not giving up." I looked up, and she was smiling, genuinely, softly. I pulled her into a hug. She didn't resist this time. For the first time in a long while, it didn't feel like we were walking on broken glass. It's been a year since she came back into my life. She still splits her time between our homes, and that's okay. On Sundays, she visits for dinner. She still rolls her eyes at my overcooked roast chicken, still hums under her breath while setting the table. We've stopped pretending things are perfect. We just try to be real, and maybe that's better. Sometimes she brings Claire along. We laugh, we talk, we share stories of the years we lost. And even though it's awkward sometimes, it's good awkward, the kind that means growth. I keep the letter, the one from years ago, framed in my bedroom now. Not as a reminder of betrayal, but of how far forgiveness can stretch when love refuses to die. And every time Maya leaves after dinner, she hugs me a little longer. She always says the same thing before she walks out the door. "See you soon, Mom." No hesitation. No conditions. Just, Mom. When I look back on it all, the silence, the heartbreak, the letters, the bridges half built, I realize motherhood isn't a single story. It's a collection of moments. Some beautiful, some devastating, but all held together by the same quiet hope that love will be enough. For a long time, I thought being a mother meant protecting Maya from pain, from herself, from the world. Now I know it means standing beside her while she learns who she is, even when that journey takes her places I can't follow. There are still days when the ache returns, when I see old photos or hear her laugh a little differently, but I don't see it as loss anymore. It's growth. It's life unfolding in ways I couldn't have planned, and maybe that's how it's meant to be. Sometimes love asks us to let go of the story we thought we were writing, so it can become something real. If you've ever been the parent, or the child, who walked away, I hope you find your way back to each other someday. Not to who you were, but to who you've become. Would you have done what I did? Tell me in the comments. And if this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe. There are more stories like this waiting for you.